You want to talk about nuts from Burke again?
No, I think we should leave that
Okay.
behind in the same way that or maybe I don't know, maybe we should talk about Nuts from Burke because I think that falls into the same kind of category as Germany mandating like Holocaust education in their history classes.
I thought you were gonna go straight into it's like the movie that we watched today, but okay, I guess you're going in that direction. um,
Speaking of which, do you want
yeah.
to talk about what did we watch this week?
Yeah, I think this is the quickest we've ever gotten into just talking about the thing that we
Yeah,
consumed.
and it's not going to change the episode length at all. It
No,
just
no,
means you
no,
have
it's gonna
about
be
45
longer.
minutes of stuff less to cut.
Yeah. I that's a lowball estimate. The Yeah, so what we watched today was we watched Ran 1985 by Akira Kurosawa. It is
Base
a
director.
Yes, it is a historical epic samurai film, and it is an adaptation of Shakespeare's King Lear set in 16th century Japan. Um, Now, have you read King Lear before? I think we talked about this briefly in the Romeo
I
plus Juliet episode.
no, but now that you say that, that checks out.
I think I said that last week, but
Maybe, but I
yeah,
think I forgot by the time I started the movie. But no, the
that's fair.
plot of this does very closely mimic the plot of King Lear.
Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar, King Lear is about it's a Shakespeare play. It's about a king in England who has three daughters, and as he grows old, he decides to divide his kingdom between his three daughters. And the first two are all like really trying to flatter him, and they get their parts of the kingdom. And the third refuses to flatter him, says this is a stupid idea, and gets married off. And like anyone who disagrees with him, he just gets rid of. And then, of course, the other two daughters kind of betray him. They're getting schemed. Well, the person behind the scenes is a guy named Edmund, who is this bastard son of one of these earls. And he's mad that he'll never get legitimate power, so he kind of just wants to destroy the whole kingdom. And basically, everyone just ends up scheming against each other. King Lear goes mad, is kind of betrayed, wanders around the countryside. Eventually, there's an alliance with the King of France, and they come to try and restore the kingdom. It gets defeated, and basically everyone dies in the end.
Yep,
Classic, good, entertaining play for the
good
whole
old
family.
Shakespeare.
Yeah. Do you say girls Shakespeare?
I said good old Shakespeare,
Oh,
but
okay.
with Shakespeare, you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
never know.
I thought you were trying to do like a, I don't know, girl boss thing, like a girl bard, but
Girl Bard, girl Shakespeare.
yeah. This
Holy shit! Can we pivot for a second?
Sure.
I
We
just
had to do it at
realized
some
that,
we had to do it at some point. We didn't get it out of our systems.
dude, Steam Train Fest is right now.
Oh,
There's a fucking
yeah,
sale
I've
on
seen that.
all of the
Yeah.
train games. Holy shit.
All right,
No, this is big.
let's take a look. Hold on a second.
This is big.
Let's find our next.
JR East Train Simulator for only $22. Holy shit.
The first thing that
Dude,
I
there's
find is
so many
Halo
train
Infinite.
games.
Choo Choo
You
Charles.
know Factorio is not on sale. Victoria 3 is included in this? That's fucked up.
It does have trains.
I guess yeah, it has trains. But I
So
would not
true.
call that a train game. Shapes 2 doesn't have trains. That's actually just a factory game. There
Ticket
are
to
no trains.
Ride. Holy shit! Ticket to Ride mentioned. Oh my
Based.
god.
Love Ticket to Ride. Such a good board
Thomas
game
and
if you want
Friends
to.
Wonders of Sodor.
Oh my god, they made a second Unrailed. That's a fun party game if you've never played Unrailed. It's basically like it's like a top-down kind of low poly, high res pixel art 3D kind of graphics party game, where you have to like build a railway in front of a train that's always moving, and you have to
Oh,
like get
okay.
around obstacles and stuff. And the thing is, the
Like the
train doesn't
fucking Wallace
stop.
and Gromit bit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fun. It's fun if you have a couple of people to play it with.
Hmm. Yeah, as far as
I
party
think I
games
own the
go, I
first
mostly
game.
just stick to a Jackbox. But
Yeah, as far as I don't know, as far as party games go, usually I stick to my being alone.
That's
and
also very
not
fair.
playing party games
Yeah.
is what happens most of the time.
Jackbox
I
is
what
difficult because you need everyone else to be really funny in order for it to work, and you need to like 100% buy into it, which doesn't always happen. Um, if you want, all right, so that is going to be cut. What you just said, but yeah, if you really want to test like a friend group that you're not super familiar with, have them play talking points. I've done
Oh my
this a
god, yeah.
couple times, and it is crashed and burned every single time because you need a very specific group of people to make talking points work.
Yes.
Um, you need to be able to just bullshit with tremendous fluency and grace.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I am phenomenal at talking
yeah,
points.
I've played talking points, and it's been rough having to carry it. Because
I,
as you know, we are of course the most funny people. We have never said an
uh-huh.
unfunny thing in our lives, and we are of course the essay about eating the Irish children.
Oh, I've heard of it, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't know.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I
no.
was
I think
you
that's a bit
gotta
obscure for
find
my
the
taste.
right like group that shares your interest. Because if you don't,
I
you just
guess
end up
so.
sounding like a fucking lunatic.
Well, I guess it's also important at that point to know the common interests of the group that
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
in, instead of just trying to find a group of people that perfectly matches the select obscure list of references that you like to make.
When I'm in like a larger group of people that I know fairly well, there's usually a gradient of like how similar they are to me, like how much our interests overlap. I mean, this is true for like any person, but I'm just
Sure.
talking about me specifically because that's the person that I know. Um, but
Doubt.
there's like three people that I would feel comfortable doing more esoteric bits with, but then the other three people I would not. And I sort
Uh-huh.
of like rank them in my
It's a
mind.
hard mix.
I keep a ledger in my mind of how compatible I am socially with everyone that I know. Um,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah. Do you want to talk about Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also,
Well, actually, I feel like we should finish this thought because I used to do
did
the
we have
same
a
thing.
thought?
I used to try and keep a ledger a little bit, but I think it was like in college I just stopped caring and decided that anybody that didn't like the way I acted around them just wasn't good enough for me.
That checks out with what I know of you. Yeah.
And that's gone pretty well.
Sure. We'll agree to disagree. I will say my like default thing for Jackbox, and I got this from I think a Wizards with Guns bit. Um,
Based.
Penis with an Enye. All right, penis. Just
Genius.
just throw it in there. It's great in Quiplash. It's great in
Genius.
like title for talking points. Just like
Yeah,
throw
genius
penis
is
in there
funny.
somewhere. It never
Genius.
fails. All right.
I can see that. Okay,
Yeah.
the movie.
Yes, so true. Do you remember when movies had sets and costumes and color?
Oh my god, yeah, I was thinking about this
Like,
during this movie. Like midway through when they burned down that castle, I'm looking
yeah,
at this and I'm
that's
like,
insane.
that's not CGI.
No, they
Like that's
fucking
not
shot at
digital.
that guy with flaming arrows.
They just burned a building.
Yeah.
Like, did that actually happen? Because that's
This
fucking rad.
yeah, so for context, there's a big battle scene in the middle of this. There's a bunch of samurai fighting. They're shooting flaming arrows and shooting like guns at this castle. There's a really great shot where Hidatora, who is the King Lear analog, is just like sitting sullenly in the middle of the room while arrows fly above him. And this movie, at the time it was made, was the most expensive Japanese movie ever made. It was in development for like a decade. Kurosawa had the idea in the
Hmm.
70s, and then he had a run of bad luck with his movies. Um, he only made like four movies over the last 20 years of his career. Um,
But they were all bangers.
most of them were bangers. The one that he made basically he started only making movies like every 5 years for a while,
Hmm.
like 70, 75, 80, 85, which is this one. And
Yeah.
the trial run for this, the quote unquote dress rehearsals, he called it, was Kagemusha in 1980. And that is a similar sort of epic samurai story about an aging warlord who is. He picks like a street urchin to sort of like replace him and imitate him as a body double.
Uh,
Throughout all of this process, he was making sketches and storyboarding and planning this all out and writing this. And they did end up like building a castle at the base of Mount
yeah,
Fuji,
and then they fucking burned it
and then
down,
they burned it down. It's
which
not
is so
quite
awesome.
like it's not quite like Werner Herzog levels of committing to the bit for the movie, but it's
Yeah,
still incredible amount of practical effects. Um,
100%. Well, because I mean, even like before, people would just fake everything with computers.
yeah,
A lot of the time when you needed extreme effects like that, they would use, um, miniatures and like point of view tricks with cameras to just make it look like the miniature was life sized, and then you would just avoid putting people in the frame when the explosion was happening, or you would do some neat camera tricks. Film used to be an art.
they used to have
um
practical effects, and they had to think about things instead of
and
putting
now it's fucking boring.
A-list actors instead of in front of green screens, and
Yeah,
instead of just
but
putting Ian McKellen in front of a green
yeah.
screen and doing everything in post. But I mean,
And so it's like they could have done that.
there are still practically
But they
made
didn't.
movies today. It's
Oh, for
just
sure,
not
for
the
sure.
blockbuster style thing.
Yeah, but it's just well, well, quite frankly, there's no reason to come to this level of practical effects because it costs more to build a building and burn it down than it does to just, you know, CGI a building burning down. Um, but yeah, I mean, just the sheer dedication to go through constructing an entire building and then burning it down just to have the ability to like have the building burning and people in the same shot with live action is insane.
Hmm. Just reading a couple things from the Wikipedia page, a couple stats. Filming started in 1983. The 1,400 uniforms and suits of armor were designed by they were designed by this costume designer, handmade by master tailors, taking 3 years.
Yeah. Oh
Used
my god.
200 horses, and the two other castles that were not burned down are actual famous historical castles in Japan. Um,
That I did not know, but I was every time somebody in like a suit of armor
yeah,
came on screen, I was just absolutely flabbergasted by the fact that they were actually wearing what looked like a
yeah.
real full suit of armor.
I had the thought running through my head the entire time that if this movie was made today, it would it would just look gray and everything would be CGI. But B, the armor would be like fucking plastic or something like that. Um,
Yeah. Well, because I mean, what's the big comparison everybody uses? It's like the whatever the Lord of the Rings show
yeah,
that was, and like how
Rings of
dumb
Power. Yeah,
Rings of Power and how dumb the Gondorians'
yeah,
armor looks, or the Numenorians' armor looks, because it's like, oh, this is the height of human civilization throughout all time, and their armor looks like it was put together in 5 minutes by a dude with a fucking press mold, compared to like the original Lord of the Rings movies, where it's like your doodad Roshari, not Roshari, your doodad uh Rohirrim soldier has better looking armor.
yeah. They like Weta Workshops work on the first. I am look. This might be sacrilege. I am not a super big fan of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. I think it is an incredible technical achievement. Um, but as far as like the movies go, I just prefer the books if I want to actually see the story of Lord of the Rings. Um, but just like all the technical stuff that went into that movie is insane. And that was saying something like that was one of the last big, mostly practically done epic movies is a crazy general statement that I don't want to make without proof, but I'm trying to think of other ones. There was a lot
Mhm.
of emerging CGI at the time that was used to like duplicate
Yeah.
people,
I
but it
think
was still mostly practical.
the Lord of the Rings movies is a very good example of like extremely well done combination of CGI and
Yes.
practical effects, because the one that people love to point out the most is the like depth and point of view tricks that they use with the camera to make the hobbits and dwarves look small when they're sitting near Gandalf. And I always love watching the little like green screen fade out to Gandalf just talking to nobody with the meme header of like when the schizophrenia meds wear off.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because they had also, I mean, part of the famous meme of Ian McKellen crying on the set of The Hobbit was because for this movie, well, for the original Lord of the Rings, they had Ian McKellen and the Hobbits, Ian Holm or whatever. They had them in the same room, and they were just sort of filming them from the side in this weird perspective angle.
Hmm.
But like, he still had somebody to like bounce off of, and it was still physical. And then later on, they just kind of put him in a green tomb and copy pasted him onto the shot. Um,
Yeah.
but even between the original Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies, which are only like 10 years after,
Hmm.
um, even then, the reliance on CGI is really apparent because those movies look ugly as sin.
Yeah, and the
They
Hobbit
look like a
movies
video
are
game. It's so
uh
strange. Everyone's like
yeah.
airbrushed. Everything is airbrushed. It's too smooth. It doesn't look real at all. The action is
Yeah.
weird.
And oh
Um,
my god, I could go on for hours about the Hobbit movies and Lord of the Rings movies and the technical aspects of them and how the Hobbit movies are a disgrace to the books, to the book, the singular book that got turned into whatever.
I know you
But
have. I've been in the room with you when you've done it.
yeah, it's cinema.
Yeah.
But
But this movie, the movie that we should
this
be
movie's
talking
great.
about, yeah, I mean, I really love the opening scene where they have the three brothers in like the different colors, the yellow, red, and
Mhm.
blue, and then they have Hidatora in his white, and they're all like having a little picnic. Um,
The little picnic after their little boar hunt.
it's just a bunch of dudes sitting on a hill talking, and I'm like
Yeah.
enthralled every time I see it.
And I really liked this scene because when it kind of panned over to them all sitting together and eating, I expected it to be a lot more tense based on the kind of apparent status that everybody in this little hunting camp held.
Yeah,
But it did a really good job of conveying the kind of attempt to be a little more relaxed in a way that makes it so it doesn't look like you're worried about this one old senile man's decisions, but also there is still a very palpable tension between every person in this group.
yeah, it's politics.
Politics.
Yeah. I think there's also some. I mean, the costumes and set design are great. Some of the shots in this movie are also fantastic.
Oh my god, yeah.
I really love. We've mentioned the one where he's just sitting in the room while the arrows fly around him. All the stuff with the battle scenes, like the big battle in the middle, where it just has the score playing in the background, and it's just
Mhm.
people running around. That's great.
And that
Um,
was like a 30-minute bit too. Like it was the whole center of the movie was like a 30-minute cut of just warfare.
and it was great.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I'm a big fan of the other two. There are a couple of long shots in this movie that are also really good. Um, the two that I really think of are the one where he's talking at dusk to Sue and Taro on like the top of the second castle. And he just
Mhm.
sort of walks up. He's talking to Sue. He's like, "Why don't you hate me?" And she's like, "The Buddha forgives all." And then Taro comes, and they have this whole thing. It's like it's a long shot, but you don't really notice it because I think sometimes directors use long shots in a way where it's clear that they're trying to show off. Like, oh, look at me, I can plan ahead and have good blocking, and I'm willing to try this until it works. Um,
Mhm.
do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think so, yeah.
but this one feels really just natural. It's kind of just, oh yeah, we're on this, and they're framed really well against the sunset. A lot of it kind of feels like stage blocking. Like he's just
Yeah.
there, he's just talking, and then another guy walks in, and they're talking, and then they leave. And it really does feel like an adaptation of a play, which makes the bits that you can't do in a theater, like the battle scenes, hit a lot harder.
It
Also, the
does,
bit
very
where
much so.
also the other bit that I think of, the long shot, where uh, Kaede is like sort of she has the knife and she's going around the room and she's threatening
Oh my god, yeah. The
Jiro.
whole like, where it
Yeah, not not
panned
not not
around the
Taro,
entire
Jiro.
room.
Yeah. Uh
Mhm.
and she's going around the room and she's just like threatening him and closing the doors and laughing and it's just like moving back and forth. And again, that felt like this could just be on a stage.
Uh-huh.
Um, anyway, you say
Damn, this
something.
was a good movie.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy that we like have watched something that's actually good on this show instead of you know
PvP Civilization.
yeah whatever else we've been watching.
Shit. I mean, yeah, it's like a lot of the shots in this movie were just excellently well done. And one thing that I loved that they did, and they didn't do it a whole lot, but there were a couple like semi-obvious instances of this where they were doing still frames of the sky and then
Yes,
transitioning between different still frames of the sky, and a couple of those still frames were paintings. They were very obviously like paintings of
yes,
the sky or of a background, but they were such gorgeous paintings that it was an incredibly like dynamic artistic comparison of like the natural sky that you see on a cloudy day and something captured by the human hand with the paintbrush. And it paid no like uh uh actual heed to this. It was just, I think that was such a good, well used tool for those. I thought those still shots were really pretty.
I am the two things. Well, I think the thing I'm most angry about with the transition to CGI away from practical effects is CGI fire, just because I hate CGI fire.
Well, CGI
Um,
fire is also bad.
yeah, that too. But one of the more I think one of the more like artistic things that was lost from the transition from practical to CGI is matte paintings and like painted backgrounds because it doesn't look real. It has a look
No,
to it, but it's a
yeah, like you
great
can
look.
see the brush strokes.
Yeah, but it's still a great look. And I
Yeah.
think that is versus just, shooting everything on the volume or whatever. I think that is a really interesting thing that even people who are really into the practical effects and doing everything practically don't really try to imitate anymore. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm a big fan of like that, especially like 70s to 80s, like oil painting style that was used both of the backgrounds and even just like on movie posters that you don't see anymore. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that's look. All right, here's the plan. We get some capital, right? Like with this
Hmm.
podcast becomes extremely successful. We get a bunch of money. We become two
Hmm.
very high powered individuals, and we go and we
Bunch
make
of
our
money.
own movie, right?
Bet.
But the movie is not actually. There's not a plot. There's not anything that happens. It's just like a bunch of shots of nature, and just like the goal is to make it so that every frame could be someone's desktop background. Like
We're gonna 100% esoteric lifestyle.
yes,
We're gonna complete esotericism. We're gonna make the most esoteric thing ever. You know, House of Leaves,
yes, yes,
that
yeah.
but a movie.
Wouldn't that just be yeah, like a
We have to somehow practical effect the house being bigger on the inside.
yeah, we just actually invent like the fucking TARDIS and
Yeah, we do.
have
We
it there,
break
yeah.
physics. It's all gonna be one shot.
Yes, yeah, like 1917. That's
Yes.
when I was talking about long shots being something that the director does to show off, I kind of feel that way about 1917, but
Mhm.
also they commit so hard to the bit that I honestly it loops back around and just ends up being
I
cool.
liked
I like
1917. I
1917.
wouldn't mind doing that as a movie that we talk about at some point, because I liked that movie a lot when I saw it the first time.
There are some cheeky things they did in that movie. Like I really
Hmm.
liked how all the generals and stuff are A-list actors and
Hmm.
the privates are a bunch of nobodies because it really makes you feel as the audience like, oh yeah, this is a big important dude.
Yeah,
Um,
you're spending the entire movie with this random guy, and suddenly Benedict
yeah,
Cumberbatch
Benedict
shows up.
Cumberbatch is just there. Yeah,
Hmm.
I
Great movie.
good movie, good
But
movie. Do you want to talk about the score? Because the score was
oh my
nominated for
god, the
some
music.
award, I think.
Yeah, it's dude. There was so much in this movie, and it was so good.
It's
The
honestly
okay, one thing that I absolutely adored that this movie did with the score and with the sound design in general is that there were silent moments
yes.
in the film, and noticed those because I think that's not something that's done a whole lot
Oh
anymore. I
my
feel like
God, yes.
a lot of movies nowadays have to have some kind of music or background noise, is some kind of like shrill noise in the background, something going on so you don't so the our little ADHD brains don't lose attention and go to the bathroom. But the amount of shots and scenes in this film where it was just like a 20-minute section with no music and just the dialogue and the natural sounds occurring with interactions in this scene was incredible.
That's what 100%. I really think that the shots where it's just kind of staring at the sky as the music fades out and then we transition to the next scene, like
Mhm.
that's not something that I've seen for a while. Like I think a lot of people just sort of cut directly to the next scene now, but I
Yeah.
like having that moment of like, all right, take a moment to breathe. Now we're going somewhere different.
Uh-huh.
And even just the scenes where it's just an old man sitting in the field with like cicadas in the background, and it's just like, man, I sent you that image. I sent you a screenshot. I'll put it up on screen,
Yeah.
where it's Hidatora just sitting in the middle of the field and just goes, he's literally me.
Mhm.
I also I wonder if look, call me crazy. Everyone's so they all have shaved heads, right? Because they're samurai. They all have like shaved heads in the middle, but
Yeah.
their craniums are so huge. I I feel like it had to be a bald cap, like the one that I sent you, the clearly you don't own an air fryer one. Like I feel like that's got to be makeup. Like otherwise that would be insane. He's got like fucking Vegeta forehead then if it's not.
That's a good question. That's a good question. Let's
I
see,
feel like
because
it's
I
got to
see
be a
what you
bald
mean.
cap.
I see what you mean, but also I don't know. That was a legitimate hairstyle.
I mean, yeah, it
Because
was, but considering how disproportionate his skull is.
let's see. Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah, it was mostly bald caps.
because they did have like awards for the makeup on this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like other than the mildly disproportionate size of their fucking skull, I wouldn't have been able to tell that was a bald cap.
Like when
It does kind of bulge a little bit at the top, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. Because like Tatsuya Nakadai, who is Hidatora, he was only in his 50s when this was like filmed. He
Oh
might
shit, I was wondering about
like
that because it's like
that is makeup, but for the first time I saw this, I was like, is that makeup or does he just kind of look like that? Um,
yeah, that was a big question that I had going through the entire movie pretty much because I'm so used to seeing like so many A-list actors and famous actors in films and cinema today where it's like, "Oh, yes, I know who that person is. I know what they look like in real life." I don't
yeah,
know, maybe I just don't know famous Japanese actors, but it was kind of refreshing looking at all of these characters and not knowing what they look like outside of their characters.
that's why I like a lot of Japanese cinema. I mean, obviously, it's gone away as I've gotten more used to some of these like famous faces. Um, but like stepping into it into a more like away from the oh Brad Pitt is in this 3 second role or something like that. I got into this kind of cinema over well, kind of over the past 10 to 20 years, but really during COVID, because I kind of was getting tired of like MCU and stuff, and I wasn't really a moviegoer. Let me rephrase because this is meandering. I was not really like a big movie watcher for a long time because I didn't have like consistent access to TV. Um, and I just wasn't really interested. I went to some like Marvel movies and stuff as they came out before COVID. But really during COVID, I got into older cinema in general. Um, and I was already kind of interested in some Japanese cinema through exposure to like Godzilla and stuff like that. And I got really into, especially like Kurosawa over COVID. I went through, I think Yojimbo and Sanjuro were my first exposures to that. But then I started going through his other filmography, and he also makes use of he casts the same actors in multiple projects. Like this guy that we're talking about, the guy who played Hidetora, he was also in Seven Samurai, Yojimbo, Sanjuro, and he was the warlord in Kagemusha as
Mm.
well.
Well, and I feel like that's something you're gonna find in any director that
Yeah,
has
yeah.
like a specific style. I mean, Quentin Tarantino uses the same six actors in every movie that he makes.
Yeah, like Tim Burton does that. Like a lot of
Yeah,
Leone did that just to go to a
because
more
I think
contemporary thing.
there is a certain special relationship that kind of comes between an actor and a director that makes multiple movies together because that director can trust that actor, that he can rely on them to tell that character's story in the way that that director is trying to convey. Which so I you know you can't really blame any of these guys for doing that.
Your looks maxing analysis. Sorry, you just sent me like a paint.net edited like looks maxing analysis of the bald cap guy. This is insane. Anyway, oh yeah, fun fact: the guy who played Saburo, I was looking this up. Daisuke,
Saburo!
uh,
Saburo!
I don't know what that's referencing.
Every time near the end of the movie,
Oh
once he
yeah, 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 yeah.
fucking
Just yeah,
goes insane, and he's like, "We cannot bring up Saburo, or else he'll start running away." And he's like, "Where's your son, Saburo? Saburo! Oh,
yeah,
Saburo!"
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Thank you for doing the accent too. Yeah, Daisuke Ryu, the guy who plays Saburo. Um, I'm just going to read from his Wikipedia page. His Wikipedia page is 3 paragraphs. First one, he was an actor. Second one, these are the movies he was in. Third one, on March 21st, 2015, Ryu traveled to Taiwan where he used to perform in the Martin Scorsese film Silence. Upon arrival at Taoyuan International Airport, he was stopped by immigration officials due to having an incomplete entry form. Ryu, who was intoxicated at the time, engaged in an altercation with one of the officers who sustained a fractured leg. He was indicted and prohibited from leaving Taiwan and subsequently fired from the production of Silence. In May 2015, Ryu reconciled with the injured official and publicly apologized for his actions. In June, he was fined by Taiwanese courts for his part in the incident and allowed to return to Japan.
Dude, base.
Yeah,
I love this guy.
references actor Daisuke Ryu indicted in Taiwan for assaulting immigration officer fired from Scorsese film.
Oh my god, I love how he broke the officer's leg. That's crazy.
I assume he was doing like I have you seen Ip Man?
Yeah.
The scene where he fights the 10 black belts, there's one moment in there that I always remember where he just like fucking stomps the guy's knee to the side and
Oh
just
my
like
god,
turns it into a
yes.
right angle.
God, I've seen that move used in like so many. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always a gruesome one to
I'm
watch.
assuming that's what he did.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Really ramping up the stereotype of every Japanese person knows martial arts.
I wasn't going to be the one to say it, but thank you for making sure that our audience
Yeah.
knows that we are indeed.
Okay, man. hmm Man, this fucking Wikipedia page, like 3 out of the 5 references are in fucking a language I can't read.
That's what happens when you watch foreign cinema.
Oh, it's a news article. Is this Japanese? Yeah, this is Japanese. Man, I can't read any of these. That's fucked up.
God, I don't
Why can't we
understand
just
why they don't just speak American.
why don't they just speak English? It's like clearly oh my god, dude, this advertisement goes hard as fuck.
Like, is this Blue Lock, the Blue Lock I've heard so much about?
I think it's Chinese, not Japanese, but let me hold the fuck. Yeah, it's Chinese. What is this? The police? Oh my wait, what the fuck? I'm so confused. Oh, wait, this is a dude, Chinese news is
Police have
crazy.
condoms, lubricants, and English Korean controlled teaching manuals on the female nurse. What? I love how it's just in Korean and then just hard.
Hard. You look at the That's the title of this article.
Korean nurse E Milk Spicy Nurse came to Taiwan 18 days to get 2,500.
250,000.
That too. that that too.
That's crazy. Can we talk about what I would say is arguably the best character in this film?
All right. All right.
The Fool.
Oh my god, I love the Fool.
I fucking love this. Every scene that this guy is in, as he like transitions from, your silly, goofy, oh, the gourd in the wind as he
Yeah,
swings high in his hollow tower type shit.
and the guy's like, that song made fun of me.
Yeah, and he's like, as he has a hernia because somebody called him a gourd.
And meanwhile, the Fool just kind of does the fucking take the L dance as the guy chasing him gets
he
shot.
literally does do like the fucking hand on the forehead. But this the Fool is present with what the fuck is the guy's name?
Hidatora.
The Fool is present in pretty much every scene that Hidatora is present in, as his kind of right hand man. And is one of the two characters that is with Hidatora pretty much all the way up to the very end. And the sheer comic relief that this character provides is such a beautiful contrast to the overall vibe of this movie. And there are a couple other scenes in this movie that actually just had me laughing out loud.
Yeah.
But the Fool was definitely responsible for most of them. Like I think in one of the first scenes where there is actual music, like there is an actual score being played, is when not Jiro, but who's the old one? The oldest
Taro.
son. When Taro is basically goaded by his wife.
He's goaded?
To go Goad, not Goat. This motherfucker is a gourd, not a goat. Gourded. He is gourded by his wife to go get this big fucking sun thing that his dad took, because she was like, I won't suck your dick if you don't go get this thing back. And so he sent a bunch of his soldiers to pretty much go, fuck you, dad, I want my thing back. And so they go and they try to get into a bit of a fight with Hidatoro's retinue, and the Fool starts making fun of the oldest son's retinue as they're doing this, calling him a gourd and throwing things at them. And one of not Jiro, god damn it, the fuck is his name? I already forgot. I hang on. Let me just get like a character list.
Was it one of the? Are you thinking the other brother, Taro?
No, I've already forgotten the older. Yeah, Taro. Yeah, Taro, Jiro, and Saburo were the three sons in order from oldest. So Taro, yeah, as the
that
Fool
was
is like being
Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia. Yeah.
Yeah, is being chased by one of Taro's soldiers as he's like about to come down with a sword and fucking cut him in half, as he just gets an arrow right in the back, and then it pans over to Hidatoro up in a window just with a fucking longbow looking at him. And he's like, I think that's probably the coolest thing Hidatoro did in the whole movie.
Yeah, he's just leaning out of the tower with the longbow and like the drums.
Longbow all the way out, and it pans to him, and then the music starts playing, and it's just like, oh shit. You like the scene, this picture is like, you don't fuck with that guy. And so the Fool definitely has like, especially near the end of the movie, the Fool has a lot of prevalent story heavy decisions that he makes and dialogue that he says pertaining to who is he as his master goes mad. And it's like, oh, how the sky and ground have switched places, for you are the one with the ramblings of the insane, and I am the one who speaks of wisdom. Good poetic shit like that.
Yeah.
But there's so much other shit in this movie that the Fool does. Oh my god, when he was like, if if this is the wrong road, jump.
Yeah.
Hidatoro just full on leaps, just does a little hop off of a cliff.
Well, that's kind of the bit in the original King Lear too.
Uh-huh.
Because he jumps off the cliffs of Dover is the thing.
Mhm.
Although he doesn't actually, he just sort of he gets pranked as well. Um, but what was I going to say? I I do have two things of note about the Fool. Um, One, in the original play, in the original King Lear, he is not there at the end. He kind of just disappears after the third act, and it is not clear what happens to him. Shakespeare likes to have a fool in a lot of his plays, who's usually the comic relief, but also kind of providing insight. Um, but in the play, his role is mostly taken over by Cordelia, who is Saburo in this one.
Mhm.
But in this one, the fool just kind of stays with them forever. And two,
Mhm.
I find it interesting. I think the fool was good comic relief, but I think I also like him because later on in the movie, he becomes a more emotional character.
Oh,
Um,
very much
he
so.
becomes more of like I'm not sure I should stay with this guy, and he says something like I've always been his nurse or whatever because he's always been
Mhm.
there like looking after him, and he like basically tucks him in. And it is sort of a weird. He definitely has a conflicted relationship with this guy now, and
Very much
he's
so.
like battling with himself whether or not he wants to stay. And I think that's a neat extra dimension. Um, I always like the fool character in Shakespeare's plays just because I think he's neat, but I think
Mhm.
adding that extra like emotional attachment to him is a really good change.
Very, very much so. Great character overall, just really well written and really well portrayed. Although, I think I would argue that the funniest scene in this film had nothing to do with the fool.
All right.
And it was in fact when oh my god, when uh who was what was the name of Jiro's like right hand man? Oh, Kurogane.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, when Kurogane is tasked to uh buy Jiro's new wife Kiyomi,
Hmm.
or Kaede. Uh
Who was originally Taro's wife, and then Taro was
yes,
killed by Jiro in a bid for power, and
and then
Kaide's.
she went to Jiro. Um and she
Oh, is it
is
the
like
scene where he comes up the stairs
yes,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
like
yeah,
goes
yeah, yeah,
back
yeah.
down? Yeah.
Hang on. He comes. So Kaide is trying to get Jiro to order his right hand man to go kill Sue,
His
his
wife, Jiro's
Jiro's
wife.
previous wife,
Yeah.
right? Jiro's actual wife, and Kurogane, who is his right hand man, refuses, but eventually says, "You know, what, fine, fuck it, I'll go do it." And he comes back because Kaide told Kurogane to make sure that he salts her head when he returns it so they can look at it. And so he does. He comes back with this heavy head-shaped sack, puts it in front of her, and as she unwraps it, a bunch of salt falls out, and it's a fucking stone fox
Yeah.
head.
Well, and then he
And
turns it into.
he the that was already pretty funny, but I think the funniest thing about this was how befuddled that Kurogane was pretending to be
He's like, yeah, I
when
don't know what you're talking about,
he was
man.
like, "Oh, well, I guess she turned into a fox."
Well, because he
But it
was.
was
Well, because he was
he
doing it
stuck to
like.
the bit. I know he was trying to imply that, you know, women turn into foxes and that Kaede was a fox and she was evil and yada yada yada. But
Yeah, she
he
was trying to say that Kaide was deceptive.
the commitment to the bit was flawless,
Yeah, no, great
and
bit.
I just thought that was really funny.
My favorite part about that scene is so Kaide basically threatens to kill Jiro, and then they have nasty sex, and then they do it again later, and they're in the middle of it when fucking what's his face Kurigane walks up the stairs, and he sees the doors are closed, and he just sort of like is just sort of sighs, turns around, goes back down the stairs, announces himself, and then like we see the cameras in the same spot through this whole thing. We see them open the door and quickly get dressed and then sit down. We're like, "Come here to your lord," and then he comes in. This
Crazy shit.
basically this movie can be summarized as this meme.
People always be like, "What's your?" Yeah, 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 pretty much.
For context, the meme is people always be like, "What zero pussy does to a motherfucker," but I've seen what pussy does to a motherfucker, and it's much worse.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because in the original play, right, King Lear had three daughters. Each of those daughters had, well, the first two daughters had husbands already, Cornwall and Albany. And then there was another guy, there was Gloucester, and then there was Edmund, who was Gloucester's illegitimate son. Um, and in this case, it's sort of changed, and some characters are sort of combined. Edmund is the analog to Kaede. Um, but in this case, Edmund is not an independent person who's mad at being scorned for the throne. He's instead like the trophy wife of the eldest son, and she's mad that her family has been killed. So in this case, like Cornwall doesn't really exist as a character in this movie, and like his duties in the story, such as blinding Gloucester, are instead passed on to Hidatora, which is really interesting because I think there is an element of there's it goes back to like Hidatora's seeing phantom armies that he's conquered and taking shelter in the ruins of castles that he himself burned when he first was, going through the region and being the warlord. And I think there's a really sort of he kind of gets his comeuppance in a way. There's that aspect of yeah, he was the one who kind of brought this upon himself that's not really present in the original story. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, that just gets into more discussion about like King Lear itself as a work of literature, which is not something I think we're really qualified to do here. But it's a very fun sort of twist on it, where it is still fundamentally the same story, but it's not just okay, change all their names and put it in Japan. There is like content that is changed here, which is nice.
Yes, I do love the cinema style of change all their names and put it in Japan.
It is literally like thing Japan, like
Hmm. Thing but Japan.
yeah. I mean, I first read King Lear when I was in high school because we read. Well, I had some exposure to Shakespeare before that, but my main like in-depth look was Romeo and Juliet first, which is all right. But then I read King Lear, and that was what made me actually like Shakespeare. I was like, you know what? I think we're cooking with gas here. I think there's a little something here. I didn't really like Romeo and Juliet, but this is it's a bleak, depressing thing where everyone dies at the end, and it's like hell yeah, he's literally me.
Yeah.
We're cutting this all. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. I mean, shit, everybody did die at the end of this movie, didn't they?
Yeah, that is the story of King Lear existed before Shakespeare. It was like a British Lear of Britain was
Yes.
like a myth. Shakespeare's change was he made and normally like Lear and Cordelia, the good daughter, survive at the end and they rule Britain together. Um, Shakespeare's change was to make it so they all died instead. That was the thing that Shakespeare did. He took things that already existed and kind of just made more people die in them.
Uh-huh.
And also added like comic relief and did a lot to make the dialogue better, which is why he's mostly remembered today. But um,
I think
yeah,
cuz I mean, shit. Who Okay, so in order of like appearance, first to die was Jiro.
yeah,
Not Jiro. First to die
yeah.
was
Taro, the oldest son.
Taro was the oldest, and he died because of Jiro. And then
Jiro's
I
gen
think
Kurigane shot him in the battle.
yeah, Jiro. I think Jiro lives.
Jiro dies in the battle, I think, is the implication.
I Does he? Because he's at the end of the movie.
He and Kurigane go and kill Kaida, and then they go off to fight in the battle, and they say something like, "We go to our deaths, but we go
Yeah, that's
now," or
okay. So
something.
it is implied that he dies in
Yeah,
that battle then, and then Saburo gets
Saburo, yeah,
shot by
gets shot.
a gun, and Kira Hidatora dies with Saburo.
He
Just
died.
kind of
Yeah,
like age and insanity succumbs him, and he drops dead on top of his son. Um, So
which
that's
is
like
how it is in the normal one.
yeah, that's the 4 like main cast dead by the end of the movie, and even a couple of the like side characters that we saw, with like Surumaru and Sue. Like Sue and her mom die when they try to go get Surumaru's fucking flute, which is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the fool lives because of course he does.
The fool and Kent. No, not 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 Kent. What's his fucking name? The fool and uh Tango.
Tongo?
Yeah,
Yeah, Tongo.
Tango. Oh, holy shit. Yeah, sorry. The fool and Tango live.
Yeah, they live.
Which that's all mirroring the original play except for the fool.
Yeah, but then the ending of it is just like a shot, like a staccato pan out
Yeah.
of the character Surumaru, who is Sue's brother, Sue being the eldest son's wife, who is blind because when his family's like shit was burned by Hidatora many years ago, Hidatora gouged his eyes out instead of taking his life. So he's blind and shit, but he plays the flute, which is all nice. And so he's like he's blind sticking his way to the edge of this like burned castle wall, and he like stumbles a little bit as his stick goes over the edge. Um, but doesn't fall as he like takes a step back, and then the scene just kind of pans out from that to like a wide shot. It is an incredible shot. Yeah, and so it's just so I like that he lived. I'm not 100% sure what.
It's a great
Yeah, well,
shot.
yeah, but at the end of the film, we're
I'll
talking
put it
like
on
hard cut
screen.
end of the film.
This
Film
is a
ended and
wonderful
he was
shot.
alive.
Um,
I think I'm still not 100% sure what exactly it was
well,
that he
he lives
the
for
role that he
now.
served in this
I
story.
mean,
Um, maybe I just lack vision, or maybe he does, but because I know he, at least the scene where he was introduced, where Hidatora,
hold on a second. Let me.
Hidatora, Tongo, and the Fool were trying to find a place of refuge for the storm, and they found this house in the mountains, and this house happened to be where Surumaru lived, and it was a whole thing where it's like, why is it dark? Oh, I can't see, and then they realize who he is, and then he's like, I don't care, Buddha be good. I'm gonna play you the flute. It's like that one Macklemore song. Um, and so I know it's very much so like it's supposed to be his introduction as the character is a reflection of the deeds that Hidatora had done in the past, coming back to haunt him and shit. And it was a great representation of that because of how the his flute playing was like great by flute playing measures, but what he was playing was so like eerie and in such like as discordant minor key, and it just freaked the fuck out of Hidatora, which was great. Yeah, that is such a good shot.
the Wikipedia page has Surumaru listed as the analog for Gloucester, who in the original play is the father of Edgar and Edmund, and there's a whole bit where he is blinded by Cornwall, and then he is like, I think
Mhm.
that he's the actual comparisons to Gloucester in the play, because Gloucester has a very real purpose. Like he's in the first scene, he's introducing Edmund as like his bastard son, and Edmund is like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you for that." Like
Mhm.
he has a more of a purpose, and I think he's only really here because this is a King Lear analog, and so we have to have a guy who's blind because that's just what the story is. Um,
Yeah.
I think I like your interpretation better that he is more the ghosts of Hidetora's past coming to haunt him, because
Uh-huh.
that is the extra dimension that's kind of added here, rather than being an actual analog to a character from the play, because he doesn't really match up with any of them. Um,
Yeah. But then it's like I think after that his purpose maybe I just can't see it, which is also very possible, but I don't know, it just goes from like he serves that kind of metaphorical like duty to force Hidatora to reflect. But then afterwards he's like his sister and his mom come and get him, and they're like, "We got to go back to this castle that is burnt down."
Yeah.
But then he's like, "I forgot my flute,"
I think
and
that
then and
one
then
of
they
the
go
other
back and get it, and they die.
one
It's
of the other
like,
bits I really like in that, I think that he's kind of just there to show how bleak this world is. Because one of the other bits I really like is Sue leaves to get the flute, and she gives him the scroll of the Buddha, and
mhm.
says, "As long as you have this, it will protect you in my stead."
Oh
And
my
in the
god, yeah, and
final
then he drops
shot,
it.
in the final scene, he's like tapping his way to the end of the tower and sort of stumbles and drops the scroll. And we see the scroll of the Buddha like fall on the ground below, and then we cut back to him alone, just sort of like at the top of the tower. So I think the implication is that he dies, like he starves to death or something after the movie ends. But I think it really is that. I mean, at the end of the movie, it does do that, like, oh, the gods weep for to see men kill each other and stuff like that, and it's like they prefer
Mhm,
suffering over peace. And I think that he's there to demonstrate how like
mhm.
bleak things are more than anything else.
Well, I actually that the what you just mentioned is a scene that I like a lot when Hinatoro actually finally kicks it, and the fool is yelling at the gods and screaming about how they are cruel and harsh, and they, prefer to see suffering over men's joy. But then it's Kuro no, it's Tongo
Yeah.
who is with them as he's saying this, and reflects and says, "No, it is not us who weep, it is the gods who weep, for there is nothing they can do as we continue to kill each other."
Oh my god. It's a kind of melodrama that would not be out of place in like a Final Fantasy game, but I think it
Mhm,
really works here because of what it's, working off of. Cuz I mean, they win the battle, like Saburo's men in alliance with the others, like they win the battle, but all the leaders are dead. Everything is in disarray. A lot of like the infrastructure and the castles are burned down too. Like the situation's just fucked going forward. Like
oh, yeah.
Hidetora has conquered this whole area and has it under his command, and it's just gonna split off and be completely destabilized
Oh, yeah,
in the
and that
future.
that final, like, collection of scenes that was the big fight between, like, the 4 separate kind of colors, they're the red, the blue, the white, and the black,
Yeah,
and then, like, Hidetora just kind of getting caught in the middle as the prize for it all, and then he dies. I
yeah.
thought that was so fucking funny to me because the end of it, when it was revealed that all of the, like, Akura soldiers up on the hill were just a decoy and that they had taken the castle, and then they just started, like, chanting and raising flags and basically doing, like, the ancient Japanese equivalent of the Fortnite L dance to them from, like, a mile away.
It's a big Stunchik type thing. Like they're celebrating, and then everyone, like the people in charge or what's left of them, are just kind of over in the corner being sad.
Mhm. And they're like, he's literally just laughing at them as this is happening too. This motherfucker is having the best day of his life. He's just cackling to these motherfuckers.
Just for some like historical context as well, because I think this is neat. The original idea for this was not to do an adaptation of King Lear. That was sort of an emergent thing. There was a historical Japanese warlord, Mori Motonari. I'm butchering the pronunciation, but this was like a historical Japanese guy who had three sons who were famously very loyal to him. And Kurosawa's idea was, what if the sons like betrayed him? And of course, that naturally evolved into sort of a King Lear parallel. But I do like the idea that he looked at an example of a royal family being functional in the past, or like a this dynasty actually working and not devolving into infighting and politics and stuff like that, which is historically kind of rare. Um,
Mhm.
and he's like, yeah, but what if it did though? What if it was worse? Um, and I really appreciate that sort of outlook on life.
Absolutely.
Also, by the way, Kurosawa's wife died in the middle of this,
Oh,
and
shit.
according to the source that I'm getting from Wikipedia, his wife of 39 years died during the production of the film,
Oh
and
my
he
god.
he stopped filming for one day to mourn before getting back to work.
I Wow.
He's he's on that grind set. Like
I guess so. That's intense. Holy shit.
Kurosawa was, this was near the end of his life. He was If this was filmed in '83, he would have been,
Mhm.
yeah, he would have been in his
This
70s.
was one of the last movies that he produced.
Yeah, he would have been in his
Um,
70s when this was like
this
being
was
done.
his yeah, this was his 4th to last. It went this, Dreams, Rhapsody in August, and then Maradayo, and
Yeah.
then that's it.
What's the other? He's got some really good ones. He did
The 2 that I know that I've seen are Rashomon and Seven Samurai.
those are both good.
Rashomon.
Yeah,
I think those are both incredible
we
movies.
should do Rashomon at some point on the show just because when I first saw that, like the trope of everyone is telling imperfect versions of the story to make themselves look better, like they're lying
Mhm.
about what happened and they're making themselves look better. That was a trope that I knew, and like when I
Like,
saw
personally?
that this was the movie that like did that, I was like, holy shit, I it was insane.
Mhm.
Um I think the only other movie of his that I've seen is Sanshiro Sugata, and I only know that because of the Sega commercials. Um,
Yeah.
the Sanshiro Sugata, but what was he? He did Throne of Blood was the Scottish play. Um, what else did he? I'm trying to think of other like similar ones because that was another Shakespeare adaptation that he did. Um, yeah, Kurosawa's got a lot of stuff. We should get really into Japanese cinema for a while and just like rebrand ourselves as the Japanese cinema podcast, and then we just break from that and do something different.
Mhm.
That'd be a good bit, I think. Do you have anything else to add?
I think we pretty much covered most of, like, the major talking points that I had from this absolute masterpiece of a film.
Yeah, it is crazy that we watched like a good movie for once. Um,
Yeah.
I think that do you want to get into the
Oh my god.
ratings?
But before we do, the
Okay.
one final thing that, like, I took note of during this movie that I absolutely adored is the very classical Japanese cinema usage of blood.
Yes. Oh my god, when
Um,
they kill Kaide and it like splatters on the walls, I was like,
yes, because fun fact, and you might know this, but for the sake of our audience,
I probably
the
do.
stereotypical like Japanese katana slash blood splatter everywhere originated from an accident, I believe, in an earlier Kurosawa movie because
Sanjuro.
they were going to cut him, and it was supposed to be like a blood bag, leaking out like you do normal blood, but their blood bag was way too pressurized, and so blood just splattered everywhere, and they loved it, so they kept it in the film. And from that, it's became a very, very popular tool in Japanese cinema, even up to today in like modern anime. Um, for blood to just be such a dramatic storytelling tool, and I thought it was so good during like the large scale battle scenes with the building burning and all these different soldiers dying. How much blood there was everywhere.
Yes. I think that I think the way the story goes is that in Sanjuro there's like the final duel where they like slice at each other. And in that scene, the there's a clog in the tube for the blood, and so it was like building up pressure, and so like he slices him, the blood is supposed to go for a second, and then all of a sudden it like the clog breaks and it just starts shooting out, and that's like the stereotypical anime, like they slice at each other, pause for a second, one of them collapses with a bunch of blood coming out, is from
Uh-huh.
that, and allegedly that is an accident. Kurosawa, I think, has said that it wasn't an accident, but I might just ignore that just because it makes for a cooler story if it was.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, very good. It is really interesting going back and like watching really influential things in pop culture and saying, "Holy shit, that's where the trope comes from." Um,
Oh, 100%.
it is very interesting to see that. How do we want to rank this? On
Hmm.
so for context, do you want to say this? You should say this.
No, I did it last week. You did it.
Okay. The way that we rank movies in this podcast is we have a coaxial scale.
Mhm.
Not
Similar to the copper cables that you find coming out of your wall in old houses that you're supposed to plug your landline into.
coaxial. Is that the word that I'm thinking of?
Well,
No,
I know what a coaxial
biaxial.
cable is.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm there are two axes to this scale, and I think I fucked up and used a big word in a way that I shouldn't have, much
No,
like
I think we need to stick to
a
it. It's
little
a
baby boy.
coaxial scale. We specifically
Yeah,
use
yeah, yeah.
high
Going forward.
frequency television signals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We just keep going. Nobody knows if it's a bit or if we're like being wrong on purpose. We just say coaxial scale. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. Oh my God.
God, I love a good coaxial cable.
No, I cut out the coax den story from the last episode. We'll just leave it at that.
Yes.
Um. So God, we have two axes to the scale, right? The first
Uh-huh.
one is how neo-isomorphous the movie is on a scale of 1 to 4. Um,
Mhm.
and on the other side, we have how relatable it is on a scale of -1 to -4. And then we add those two numbers together, and that is the final score for the movie. The best score, of course, is a 0 because that means that there is a balance between how relatable and how
Yep.
neo-isomorphic it
There's a
is.
one-to-one correspondence.
Fuck off. So on the neo-isomorphous scale, I look, man.
Okay,
I
but hang on.
like,
Before we get into this, I think there's an inherent kind of quality with our
yeah,
metric for rating that does us a disservice
yes.
because the the
The man who killed
shittier
Hitler and then the
the
Bigfoot got the
sh-
best score that we could give.
and then what did the game we did last week also got a 0, I think.
Uh, no, we
Um,
did PvP
or-
Civilization. I think it.
oh no. It was 400 car batteries got a 0.
Oh yeah, 400 car batteries got a 0. Yeah, 400 car batteries wired
So
together.
it's this scale does not rank quality media that we can have a good discussion about highly.
I think this is the best thing we've watched on this podcast. This is the
I
best thing we've watched on
genuinely
this
think it
podcast
is.
by a wide margin, and we're
Yeah.
not really prepared to be reviewing good things.
No, like considering that our most like one of our best discussions was one of the earlier ones with Now You See Me, and we
Yeah,
went from that, which is an all right movie at best,
yeah.
to this cinematic masterpiece. I think I Neo Isomorphic just off the dome 2.
I honestly, I was going to give it a higher score because I feel like it deserves a higher score. But if we look at the body of work that we have covered on this show, and we look at who we are as people and what neo-isomorphism means, I feel like unironically being good does mark down points. I wanted to give it a 4 because it's a good movie, but I
Uh-huh.
kind of struggle giving it I kind of struggle giving it anything higher than a 3. Um,
Actually, let's take a step back really quick and see if we can analyze within our hearts and our minds what it means to be neo-isomorphic.
yeah.
Because we founded this podcast on the ideology that we would find a piece of media with a perfect one-to-one bijection with its quality and relatability. Um, and I think this film being like kind of a adaptation of a Shakespeare play,
You're getting
there
some
are
clicking from your mic.
fuck.
It's okay, continue.
There's a certain I think we need to pay attention to the uh correspondence
Okay, hear me out.
between Shakespeare's King Lear and this film.
We debated this at one point when we were creating this scale, and I want to open up the discussion again. You know how like the political compass exists and is really like an actual valuable tool for actually mapping political ideologies and is not completely immune,
Yeah,
right? Um,
yeah.
there are some memes about like adding another axis to that, making it 3D. What if
Uh-huh.
at one point we discussed like adding a third scale, peak or squeak? Um, like not really a scale, just like as a binary thing, like actually measuring the quality of a movie. Like you can give it the numerical scale on how neo-isomorphic and relatable it is. That's more granular. And then you just give it like the binary, is it peak or is it squeak? Um, and it's like, you could have, if I say something like, okay, neo-isomorphic 2, relatable -3, peak, like that means it's actually a good movie that gets that score. But if I say
Uh-huh.
something like, the man who killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot, like one neo-isomorphic, -1 relatable squeak, that'll be, that movie's dog shit, even though it technically has like a 0 rating or whatever.
Yes.
So do we?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wait a
you're
second. I think I've found something.
you're getting a lot of fuzziness in your mic.
Oh
Um,
no. Let me turn my I actually have no idea why. Nothing changed between was this like has this been a consistent thing throughout the
this
episode?
just started like a minute ago when we were talking about the
Okay.
ranking.
That's fucked up. Literally nothing has changed.
Okay, turn
Is it
down your
still
gain,
fuzzy?
maybe. I don't know.
Their gain is like reasonably low.
Yeah. Um,
That's weird. Hang on, I found a political chart like meme
yeah. Is it the guy? Is it the
template.
guy that's grilling at the top?
No, it's a full blank template.
Okay.
So we're gonna put together here. You're gonna this is something we're doing in the episode. You're gonna help me with this.
We call this, like neo-isomorphism too. We've just had like a little council here to redo our scale. Um,
Yeah. Well,
so
we
far, we've
updated
just
it.
been saying like neo-isomorphism 1 to 4.
Uh-huh.
Um, but what does that mean? What is the opposite of neo-isomorphism? Is this on a scale from like one end of a spectrum? And so we have codified neo-isomorphism is on a scale from neo-isomorphic at the high end to paleo-isomorphic at the low end. And relatability is on the scale of relatable at the high end to mallard at the low end. And so we have made this little like political compass here. Anything along this center line means that the relatability and neo-isomorphism are perfectly matched, and that means that we are that is the best score that we can get along that line. However, we've also added a new axis, peak or squeak, to determine whether or not a movie is actually like unironically good. And that is just a separate thing that's just for us, and we can just place this wherever on the scale that we want, like a 75% peak. Um, and to this end, we will be updating at some point. We'll go back and retroactively add peak or squeak ratings to all the ones we've done. But for right now, for Ron 1984, you're saying like a 2 on the neo-isomorphism scale?
I think that's where I would put it, just kind of as like a ballpark um
I
thing
think I would
there.
agree. Um, I think that I would kind of want to give it a 3, but now that we have the actual peak scale, I don't think that's something that's necessary. So I'm fine with a 2 on neo-isomorphism. How relatable is this, do we think?
Okay, me too. Well, I mean, in certain times and periods of my life, I would consider myself to be a Japanese shogun betrayed by his sons. So I think I could give this at least like a 2. Maybe even a 3. I think a 1 is doing a disservice to the inherent emotional struggle that is life as a human being. Um
I'd go 3 as well because I did send you a message at like 2 a.m. of the guy sitting down and just said he's literally me. So I feel like
mhm.
I would that would be dishonest if I was not there. Um, all right, cool,
I'm
cool.
happy with that. So 2 and a negative wait, 2 and a -3.
Yeah, for a score of -1.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. On the peak to squeak scale, how are we
Oh,
ranking
peak.
this?
Peak. Dude, peak.
Where are we thinking? I'm
No,
thinking like a 92% peak.
yeah, I'm down with that.
All right. I want to give us, I don't want to say this is peak. I don't want to put this at 100% or something like that. I want to give us some room to play around with that.
Sure,
But
parkour civilization
Parker Civilization, I'd say, would
is
unironically
peak.
be like an 83% peak.
I'm down with that. Yeah.
But
Okay, hang
for
on, hang on. Car battery.
you're looking up
Flip
the car
part.
battery again.
No. It's just I'm building. This is
No,
what
no,
one
no,
of the
no,
new
no, no,
ones.
no, no. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let's finish this up and then we'll go and do this. So, all right, 2 and -2 with 92% peak. I think that's a pretty good spot to put this movie. Now, what are we doing next week?
So I had an idea because this is a I think we should do another movie because I'm liking what we've been doing so far with these films.
Okay.
And this is a movie that came out just last year actually that has kind of middling ratings, but I
Okay.
personally liked it a lot. And it is the new Dracula movie by directed by Luc Besson, Dracula: A Love Tale, and it's a modern,
I remember you telling me
uh,
about this, yeah.
yeah, it's a modern adaptation of the original Dracula story, and
Adaptation.
I liked this movie a lot. Um, and I think it's a well done
Adaptation.
of adaptation of the original Dracula like story um in the form of a movie, but it also does a good job being like a it's what Dracula originally was. It's a love story.
Donkula. Okay. All right. Sounds
So that's
good.
what we're going to take a look at.
Well, as always, drive safe.
And remember kids, eat your vegetables.